Chapter 10 The Lonely Road. We were on the road traveling, performing on stage, and slated to perform at Caesar's Palace. Levi wasn't feeling well, and Lawrence wasn't either, so we canceled the show. We had never worked at Caesar's before, so I was a bit let down, but the guys really weren't up to it. A 3-week rest was what Lawrence's doctor ordered, so I had time on my hands to kick back with nothing scheduled. It was Piper who decided that it might be a good time to get myself checked out too. I resisted. I felt fine, I told her. It hadn't been so long ago that I'd cut out drinking and smoking. I was in great shape, but she insisted. Since I'd married Piper, she'd finished her undergraduate degree and her master's, graduated from law school, passed the bar, and become a prosecutor for the city of Detroit. I should have known better than to argue with her. My doctor gave me a thorough checkup. He examined my heart and decided that some further testing was necessary. I was blown away with what the cardiologist discovered. I had a 90% blockage in 2 of my arteries and a 70% blockage in another one. There was no question that I needed heart surgery. While I was processing this, my wife decided to find a different cardiologist. I don't know what prompted her, but she started doing research and found a Dr. Sakawa to perform my coronary surgery, which in 1995 wasn't as commonplace as it is today. The first heart stents had just started to be used in 1985, and a triple bypass was a big deal. It was a good thing that Piper was handling all this because I was paralyzed. The idea that my chest would be cracked open, my heart taken out and put on ice while my arteries were repaired was terrifying to me, but I had no other choice. I had come this far, made some major changes in my lifestyle, and had a new lease on life. I knew that God hadn't brought me this far to turn his back on me now. My heart might not have been working at full strength, but my faith was stronger than it had ever been. I believed in my heart that I had a lot more work ahead of me. I was thinking all this on the operating table as I was saying my prayers and started counting backwards. When I came to, my pastor, Piper, and a few other people were standing around me. I opened my eyes, barely conscious, and saw tubes running everywhere. I opened my mouth, trying to make a sound. Duke, what is it? What are you trying to say? Someone asked. I managed to reply. I'm making sure I'm still a tenor. Negro, you are out of your mind. Close to death, and first thing you say is, can you still sing? They fell out laughing, but I was serious. If I'd come out of surgery alive and I couldn't sing, fortunately, your vocal cords are the strongest muscles you have if you keep using them. To this day, I almost have the same natural tenor voice I had as a 20-year-old. The surgery didn't affect my vocal cords at all. I was relieved that after I healed, I could join my brothers performing again. I never believed for a minute that if they got sick, their health wouldn't bounce back like mine did. Lawrence never told us that he went to see a neurologist at this time, or that his PSA level was high, an indicator of possible prostate cancer. It wasn't that he was keeping that information from us. He was in denial himself. He didn't go back for his regular checkup 6 months later like the doctor ordered. He tried to put it out of his mind for over a year. Meanwhile, we kept performing all over the country, a high-energy, grueling schedule, even when you're in good shape. We were working at the Tropicana Hotel in Atlantic City the next year, booked for the whole weekend. On Friday night, Lawrence began telling us how bad he felt. He had this boil on his butt and wanted to find a doctor to lance it. We all felt that with a little rest and being off his feet, he'd feel better the next day. Instead, when he awoke, the pain was so bad he apologized about not being able to do the show that night. We managed without him, scuffling through, apologizing to the audience, promising that Lawrence would be back again in no time. We had no idea how serious it was. By the next night, it was apparent that we couldn't finish our Tropicana engagement. Still, we thought it was just a boil, maybe infected. Nothing to really worry about it. Back home in Detroit, Lawrence saw his regular doctor who admitted him to the hospital. That's when we found out that he had cancer. By that time, it had spread from his prostate to other parts of his body, including his liver. He was immediately transferred up to the University of Michigan for treatment. There was nothing the rest of us could do but keep working and praying. It felt horrible being so helpless. We were used to solving all our problems together, supporting each other through thick and thin. This was something we hadn't anticipated, especially at this stage of life. Lawrence was just 59 years old. As a group, we were still very much in demand and counted on performing for many years to come. By then, the sad reality of losing Lawrence had started to sink in. The career high we should have felt when we learned in 1997 that the Four Tops were awarded a star on the Hollywood Walk of Fame didn't really register. We were thrilled that we had been chosen, especially since in those days it was mostly actors and movie stars who were picked to represent the best in the Hollywood industry. We flew out to sunny LA. The wonderful ceremony had a bittersweet element. Too sick to travel, the most musically gifted member of our group, our earliest music director and arranger, wasn't there to hear Berry Gordy extol us in such a heartfelt way. These are 4 of the greatest people I have ever known. They were major pros even before they came to Motown. Our families and more than 300 fans were in attendance to help us celebrate. Yet with all the people around, Lawrence was never far from our thoughts. A month later, I was in Atlanta, celebrating my daughter Farah's graduation from Spelman College. My joy overflowed watching her receive her diploma among a sea of other beautiful young women I knew were bound for great things. I couldn't help but think of my other daughter, Kai, who also attended Spelman years before, but dropped out. Since high school, she had concealed a drinking problem from her mother and me. I wish I had been able to save her from her downward spiral. Many American families have suffered the heartbreaking loss of a loved one with a drug or alcohol problem that they just can't kick. Looking back, I can think of all the things I should have, could have done. If only you can go back and fix your mistakes. I guess I did the best I could until I was able to free myself from my own addiction so I could be a better father. Losing Kai made me hold on to Farah even tighter. Farah is the best combination of Piper and me. Beautiful, ambitious, and smart. She went on to become a lawyer like her mother. At her law school graduation, she introduced me to the exceptional young man she had fallen in love with and would eventually marry, Ralph Cook, a Morehouse man from Birmingham, Alabama. I'll never forget when Ralph called her mother and me a few years later to ask for Farah's hand in marriage. I was really impressed that he was man enough and mannerable enough to make the gesture. I asked him when he planned to pop the question. He told me that he wanted to take her to Paris to stay at her favorite hotel. Farah loved Paris and spoke French fluently, so he thought it would be the ideal place. I was impressed and gave him our blessing. Later, I shared our conversation with Levi. Guess what, Lee? This guy is in love with Farah and he wants to take her to Paris to propose. Levi was as impressed as I was. Is this boy white? He asked. We cracked up. Of course, I would have welcomed any young man, regardless of color, into our family. All I can say is that Ralph Cook is a great young man. All the things a parent could hope for their daughter. At Farah and Ralph's wedding reception, Levi and I sat together listening to Theo Peoples sing, I Believe in You and Me. We looked around, savoring the breathtaking celebration that Piper put together, which I paid handsomely for. Levi smiled, taking it all in. Man, this is out of sight. You really did it up. It's Farah, I told him. If she hadn't picked a guy like Ralph, we wouldn't be here drinking champagne. We'd be at the Holiday Inn drinking beer. They say for everything there is a time and season. Farah was born after my career was solidified. I didn't make some of the same mistakes I did with my first family. She is my pride and joy and has given me two amazing granddaughters, Carly and Riley. I also have another 5 wonderful grandchildren, Kai's children, Joy and Darren, and Nazim's kids, Yazim, Najma, and Alana. Having grandchildren later in my life and career has given me the time to spend with the next generation of my family. Being with them and my daughter Farah's in-laws has enriched my life so much. I now appreciate my time at home way more than being out on the road. But what lay ahead with Farah, Ralph, and their little family, all that happiness and joy, was yet to come as I sat in Spelman's sister's chapel, watching her walk across the dais to receive her diploma. That day in May 1997, my thoughts couldn't help but drift back to Lawrence, fighting for his life back in Detroit. I dreaded the feeling in the pit of my stomach that one day soon I'd be sitting in another church on a much more somber occasion. During the next month, the Tops were hard at work performing on the road, trying to make do with just 3 members of the group in an act that required 4 voices. Whenever I was in town, I'd go to the hospital and give Lawrence his share of our earnings. It brightened his mood to see me, hear about what was happening with the group, but I could tell he wasn't feeling great. The cancer had spread to his bladder and other parts of his body. Finally, they said they'd done everything they could to try to control it, but it was too far gone. They sent him home. Even then, we made every effort to have little meetings with him, talking like we always did, but it became too difficult for him to speak, so we did most of the talking. He'd just nod. We kept it up, praying, hoping for some miracle. Lawrence was the youngest one of us, and we weren't prepared to let him go. Lord, take one of us, we prayed. Let one of us take his place. But he just kept getting worse, and after a couple of weeks, we knew that it would be any day. And one day in June 1997, he just eased on out. Even though we knew it was coming, it was the biggest shock, the biggest hurt we could have ever experienced. Like losing a limb, a brother, a real family member. We all had brothers we grew up with, but I think we felt stronger for each other than for our own blood brothers. Our grief brought us so low. We weren't sure we wanted to go on without him. Finally, Lawrence's son, Lawrence Jr., consoled us. He shared that his dad made his peace with his father before he passed on. He gave Lawrence Jr. his ring, telling him to take care of things when he was gone. Lawrence was given a big homegoing service at Oak Grove with people coming from all over the country, business people, family, friends, and fans. By the time B.B. Winans sang, tears were flowing freely, and when they closed Lawrence's casket, we walked down, reached out, and put our hands on top of it, touching him for the last time. We broke down. We couldn't help ourselves. We cried like babies. It was inconceivable that he was truly gone. Lawrence was marvelous. He was a quiet man with an inner strength and power that you didn't see coming. When he put his mind to something, he went about it with such intensity and stealth. My nickname for him was Quiet Storm. He didn't make a big deal about his musicianship, his singing, writing, and arranging, but his talent was formidable, undeniable. One day, when we were very young, Lawrence's wife was mad at him about something. She came home really angry. She asked Lawrence Jr. where his father was. Jr. pointed to a room where the Four Tops were rehearsing. She charged over, ready to fling the door open, and then she stopped. We were in the midst of singing a beautiful song, really pretty. She just stopped and listened. Jr. said, "So you going in, Ma?" "Nah," she said, not moving. "I just want to listen for a while." For a long time she just sat there. Then she walked away. She couldn't confront him because she felt too much love, too much emotion coming from that song. Junior told us it was one of the most beautiful sounds that he'd ever heard from a group. That's when we were young, singing those beautiful harmonies with those young voices. We sang a last song for him at the funeral, one that Lawrence had written a few years earlier, The Four of Us. In the days that followed Lawrence's funeral, we were lost. We talked about what we were going to do, business-wise. Should we just go ahead and quit? We'd always said if one of us wasn't there, none of us could be there. But somehow, after days of talking, hugging, and working through our grief, we decided to carry on. It was then that we decided that no matter what, we weren't going to put anyone in Lawrence's spot, or change our name to the Three Tops or simply the Tops, which our agents and manager urged us to do. We held firm that we'd work together for years to remain a foursome, which was our identity. The Four Tops was a brand, not a number. No matter how much they bugged us, we stayed the Four Tops in name and spirit. It took about a year or so before we started getting weary doing our show with just three voices. Sometimes we used one of our musicians, our conductor, to sing the fourth part. It gave us some ease vocally, but we still felt like there was something missing on stage. After a while, Levi and I got to talking about the need for another guy. No one could ever fill Lawrence's shoes, but maybe they could fill the empty space. The Temptations had just released a singer, Theo Peoples, the baritone who had replaced Richard Street, originally the Paul Williams spot back in the day. The Temptations had cycled through a number of replacements for the original members. We felt Theo would be a good fit for a top. He was a great group singer and could sing harmonies and lead too. I could tell that Levi was getting tired, and I had to confess I was too. Lawrence's passing was like a wake-up call. We needed to take better care of our bodies, not push our limits. We decided to reach out to Theo about joining us to sing background and lead now and then to give Levi a break. Personally, I'd always felt that Theo sounded too much like a Temptation. He had a loud, slick quality to his delivery, not smooth and mellow like a top, but he was good enough to fill in. After Theo joined, we had a few good years of performing to sold-out crowds who loved the show and embraced the change in our lineup. We were working hard to give them the same sound and showmanship, but the inevitable eventually closed in. It was at an outdoor amphitheater in North Carolina, where we were booked for 3 nights with the Beach Boys, that Levi couldn't go on. His legs were weak and his voice was straining. Prior to our performance that afternoon, he called me to his room, sounding really bad. "Duke, I can't go on. I can't take another step. I can't sing another note. Sorry, man, I just can't do it." "Man, you're kidding me," I said, realizing he wasn't at his best, but we'd always managed to muster enough energy to go on with the show. Plus, I wasn't ready to go down this route, not with Levi. "I'm tired," he said, flat out, no motivation, nothing. "You've been saying that for the last couple of years," I had to admit. "But we gotta do this weekend, man. We got a sold-out house." I was hoping to get through this engagement, then he could take a rest and bounce back like he always did. "Duke, I'm sorry. Do whatever you got to do," he said, as he started packing his bags to go home. With a heavy heart, like it or not, I knew it was time to give Theo the football. I told Levi what the plan was, and he agreed. When we first hired Theo, we'd instructed him to learn the words and lyrics to the songs in case he'd be called upon to fill in for Levi one day. When I went to Theo's room to let him know he was taking over for Levi that night, he took a minute. "Duke, let me say, I know the songs, but I cannot remember all them motherfucking words to all them songs." He could tell from my reaction that this wasn't the right answer. "I've been practicing, but I can't remember," he pleaded. "Damn, we better think of something," I said, pacing, trying to figure out how to move forward. "Oh shit, I got it," Theo said, jumping up, an idea occurring to him. "I'm going to my computer, get all the lyrics to the songs, and I'm going to print them out in a big font. Paste the songs across the floor on stage with all those lyrics." "That's a brilliant idea," I said. "You think it can work?" "Yeah, I think I can do that," Theo said, taking out his computer. With that solved, Theo replacing Levi, we still needed another voice. Ronnie McNear, who we'd hired as a backup for our piano player, could also sing. We had also instructed him to prepare vocals in case we needed him one day. That day had come. "Ronnie," I said to him, "you're going to have to be a top, starting tonight." He was reluctant, but I reassured him. "Man, you know enough of these songs. You can fake it for now. You're just going to have to do it for tonight." As showtime approached, Theo was still working on his lyrics, and the rest of us were in the dressing room getting ready to go on. Ronnie complained that we didn't have a pair of matching shoes big enough to fit his feet. By that point, it didn't matter to me what color his shoes were. I told him to wear a pair of his own shoes. They weren't like ours, but we had no other choice. Ronnie wasn't going for it. "I'm not wearing shoes that don't match. You gotta find me some. People ain't going to pay no attention to that shit, man. Just get up there and sing." He had his doubts, and I knew his stage fright would be lessened if he had confidence in the way he looked, but I figured we'd just plow through it. But the minute we went on stage, opening with the beautiful ballad MacArthur Park, someone in the audience screamed, "Wait a minute, where's Levi?" Then another voice taunted, "Hey man, what's up with them shoes?" Ronnie looked at me, and his look said everything. I told you. But we got through that show and every other show that weekend. For a while, that was the Tops lineup. Eventually, Levi retired, and we made it official. However, he did make one auspicious comeback. In the winter of 1999, President Clinton invited us to perform at a holiday party as he was leaving office after his second term. We considered him a friend, having performed at the Arkansas governor's mansion in the beginning of his political career. Twice, when he was president, we sang at his birthday celebrations at the White House. He told us that we were his favorite Motown act, and he even accompanied us on his saxophone one time. When Levi heard that Clinton wanted us to perform again, he said, "Duke, let's make this motherfucker happy." It made me happy that Levi felt good enough to sing. "Think you can make it?" I asked hopefully. "I'm going to make it, man," he said. "I'm not going to miss this. And what better place to perform your last show than at the White House?" Now Obi and I were the last of the Tops still performing. I kept reminding myself that half of 4 was better than nothing, but I had to admit that I was slowing up too. In the beginning of our career, when we were just getting it together, I used to do a whole lot for the group. I was the manager, road manager, valet, everything. I would take the clothes to the cleaners, store them in my house in the basement. When we had engagements, I'd get them out, take them to the dressing room where we all got dressed together. I laid our wardrobe out like a real valet. I'd help everyone pull it together. I was the one who talked to the agencies, booked all of our engagements, coordinated schedules for transportation, musicians, payroll, everything. Even when I was drinking, I handled it. Obi would laughingly say, "Motherfucker, you can do more shit in a day drunk than most motherfuckers can do in a week sober." Now my instincts told me that I should start looking for another replacement in case something happened to either one of us. The scrambling I did the night that Theo taped his lyrics to the floor and Ronnie wore brown shoes wasn't going to happen again, especially with me being a stickler for the level of polish and professionalism the Tops were known for. I thought I had a little time to put the word out, scout singers, listen to new talent. Then Obi stubbed his toe real bad. At least, that's what we thought it was. After about a week, it started to go black and the pain shot up his leg. He complained to me that he could barely keep up the pace on stage, so we brought in doctors, physical therapists, and masseuses to rub his legs and keep him moving. When we got home, the doctor told him that he had gangrene. "That's bullshit," Obi told the man and left his office. Obi was the most happy-go-lucky guy you'd ever want to meet. When he was young, he had a velvety smooth baritone bass that sounded just like Nat King Cole. He had a winning smile to match. Everyone loved him. But as wonderful as he could turn on you. Every now and then when Obi drank, another side of him would come out, and you didn't want to be around him. But for the most part, Obi was just so much fun to be around. His personality was irresistible. I could always count on him with challenging business situations that took teamwork to fix. If I had to talk with someone I didn't really know that well, or I wasn't sure how to get through to them, I'd introduce them to Obi. He'd just start talking with the wonderful way he had with people. With his great smile and infectious personality, folks would just open up to him. He would take them to the bar, have a drink, sit down for a meal, telling jokes and getting them as loose as a goose. Then he'd come to me and say, "Duke, he's ready." The 4 of us always put the group first. It was the way we looked at things. Like when we got our first apartment in New York, the time we took over the mic at Birdland, we had just enough money to pay the first month's rent. We had to figure out what to do about the next month. The older lady who managed the building liked us. We enjoyed hanging around her and her kids, talking about show business, eating dinner. We began to notice she was developing a soft spot for Obi, always smiling, quite fond of him. Eventually, rent time came around, and we hadn't made a dime. Obi volunteered to go up to the lady's apartment to discuss our predicament with her. He took a bottle of Old Grandad with him. When he returned, he breathed a sigh of relief, saying we didn't have to worry, it was taken care of. With his winning ways, Obi was usually able to talk his way out of anything. This went on for about 6 more months while we were struggling to pay the bills. Every month, Obi would grab his bottle of Old Grandad and go upstairs. Finally, we were able to start working enough to regularly pay the rent in cash, but Obi helped us get through a tough time with his warmth and affability. She wasn't the owner of the building, maybe she was part owner, and we never knew if she paid our rent herself or what the deal was, but she really helped us out at a crucial time, even introducing us to an important manager who booked some gigs for us in the Catskills. He also managed a fabulous tap dancing act called Hines and Sons, a young Gregory Hines and his older brother, Maurice, and their father. We got to know them really well. Obi was a great dancer too, and helped put together the choreography for the group. The Tops were known for our crisp moves, very suave and smooth, which was the style that evolved after Billy Eckstein got on us for trying too hard. When Theo Peoples took Lawrence's spot, it was Obi who taught him our dance routine. That was one of his fortes. So what happened next must have really come as a shock to him. While the Tops were performing at a big Christmas party for a prominent Detroit attorney, Jeffrey Feger, Obi passed out in the middle of the show. A few weeks later, Obi complained about pain in his toe and leg. A doctor examined him, but he never revealed what his condition was. Obi returned to work, but soon the pain became too excruciating. Obi was admitted to a hospital, and this doctor confirmed his diagnosis. He had gangrene and might have to have his leg removed from below the knee. After pitching a fit, ranting and raving, the surgery was performed. As soon as Obi came to, he wanted to get up and out. "Obi, you don't have no leg, man. Someone broke it to him." High on morphine and painkillers, he really lost his mind, cursing the doctor out. "Motherfucker, I came to you with a hurt leg and a bad toe, and you cut off my whole motherfucking leg." He called me to come down to the hospital and get him out, hoping, as a team, the two of us could fix it. I rushed down, desperate to put his mind at ease, to try to talk some sense to him. I explained that after he recuperated, they were going to fit him for a nice prosthetic leg. In time, he'd be back on his feet again. He didn't want to hear any of it. All he wanted was out. Instead, they kept him to do more testing. Finally, they discovered that he had stage 4 lung cancer. He had been a heavy smoker. Obi made the decision to have no more operations, whatever happened. "Just get me out of here," he told his daughter, Toby. I'd known that Obi's condition was bad, but I had no idea just how bad. A few days after his leg was amputated, I was at breakfast and I got a phone call. "Come to the hospital. Obi just passed away." I jumped up in shock. Crying, I rushed over, and sure enough, he was gone. It happened that fast. With Obi gone, I was faced with the difficult agenda of reinventing the Tops. Not knowing Obi's absence would be permanent, Lawrence Jr. had been temporarily singing in his spot since he was admitted to hospital. We never expected this would last for long, but Jr. was very talented. Just like his father, he had a good musical ear, and he knew all the band's arrangements and the steps to our routines. He was a great little dancer. Now was also the time to give Theo Peoples his departing letter. I explained, like I had since the beginning, that he sounded too much like a temptation. I'd been urging him all along to try to sing more naturally. His reply was always, "I can't do it no better than this." I guess he really was doing his best. Still, I brought in Harold "Spike" Bonhart to sing Levi's part. Spike had a strong voice, a very soulful, straight pop kind of voice. He could throw in a little harsh, raw quality when needed. Even so, no one could ever replicate Levi's voice, but this lineup kept the group going, especially during the difficult transition period, when all I wanted to do was grieve my sick and departed brothers. Losing Lawrence and Obi devastated me, but having Levi still alive was my greatest consolation. He wasn't by my side every night singing, but I could still call or drop by his house to talk to him whenever I wanted. Levi was the only Top who stayed married to the same woman his whole life, Clynice. From the time they courted back in Idlewild, the young dancer and the young singer were devoted to each other. She took such good care of him after he had a stroke and was bedridden. It was hard to see my partner like that, the man who was once so handsome, witty, and debonair. When Levi walked into a room, people gravitated to him. He had true charisma, that quality they call the it factor. On stage, his presence was electrifying. I'd witnessed it before I met him, the first time I saw him singing as a young boy at the Paradise Theater talent show. Levi knew that he had been blessed with a God-given talent, but he didn't take it for granted. He worked hard. Singing backup at Motown, waiting for a hit record to break, gave the Tops time to learn how to be recording artists. That was when Levi learned how to project that magnificent voice of his, convey his feelings through a microphone. He already knew how to do that on stage, but it's a totally different thing when you're recording. On stage, you have the audience giving you energy, so you can exchange what's inside you back to them. In the studio, all you have is a microphone, the music, and you. You have to find that inner spirit, your inner soul, to put out vocally. Levi had the ability to convey really deep, powerful emotions in the studio. His voice was strong and forceful, but it also had a cry to it, a masculine, robust, crying feeling. That's why his voice caught on so well with the women. He had that plea. It was as close to the sound of love as a singer can convey, and closer to salvation. It had a holiness to it. When Levi passed in 2008, I thought I had been hit hard before, but this time it crushed me. Nothing could have prepared me. He'd had a series of strokes, and it was difficult for him to even talk. Still, I'd sit with him and have conversations. Me doing all the chatting, him trying to communicate. I couldn't understand a word of what he was saying. In the end, he suffered from high blood pressure and diabetes, and his teeth were totally deteriorated, dating back from the time a dentist in England had messed up. He was miserable, lying in one spot, moaning and groaning. His passing was merciful for him, but it just killed me. With Levi gone, it was the first time in my life that I felt truly alone. I had a wonderful family, but a part of my life was now over. Not only was Levi my first connection with the Four Tops, he was also my last. My whole adult life, Levi had always been a shoulder to lean on, the someone I turned for advice or consolation. The group always had consultations about decisions that affected us. If one of my buddies said he didn't like something, if one of our voices was undecided, we'd just keep talking until we all came to an agreement. Not until we all could say right or wrong, live or die, did we make a decision. Whatever that decision was, we were all behind it 100%, and now those voices were silent. It wasn't that I was afraid to be alone. I just wasn't used to it. It had been so many years, decades. The night before Levi's funeral, I had another one of my dreams. My three buddies, Obi, Levi, and Lawrence, came to me. Duke, before you go, remember what we used to talk about? Many times. How wonderful our life has been. How people have treated us so well, especially in the early years. Whatever you do, don't forget to tell them thank you. It all went by so fast. We didn't have a chance to say goodbye or thank you. Tell them for us. Tell them thank you, and that's what I did. At Levi's funeral, I looked out at all the people who were so full of grief, and I said, "You may not believe this, but my buddies came to me last night. They told me to tell you this before I go, how grateful they are. Each one of you who helped us along our way. When we were young and poor, you loaned us cab fares, took us to our engagements when we didn't have a ride. Mothers out there who fed us when we were hungry. One guy blew out his car engine taking us to a gig in Carolina. He didn't say nothing about it, just dropped us off. I don't know how he got home, but he helped us make our gig. People like Arthur Braggs up in Idlewild, who bought us our first car when we were just kids. It had a record player in. It was amazing. If we were hungry, the four of us would drive that car up to Idlewild and spend the weekend with him and his wife. She'd cook us all kinds of food. We had a bedroom to sleep in, and we just ate and rested and dreamed. The buddy that loaned me $5 to get our uniforms out the dry cleaners. The people that bought our first records. The ones who bought tickets to our concerts. The ones who mentioned our names to everyone they knew to help us get started. You all helped make the four tops. Obi, Levi, and Lawrence say thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Especially Levi, thank you for the wonderful life and the wonderful ride you've given us. I left the stage in tears. Lawrence Jr. and I had planned to sing The Four of Us with the new members of the group. I just couldn't do it. I don't know why, but I didn't want to sing that song then. I was all by myself with only the memories, great memories of my buddies and the things that we accomplished, the love we spread. From then on, I took it upon myself to do what I thought the three of them would want me to, the way the four tops would have done it. That's the only way.